I feel like when we hear the terms slow living, we have instant biases and ideas about what that looks like. Or at least I know I do. When I think of slow living, I automatically envision some trad wife making pies from scratch on her homestead in the middle of nowhere with the children that she homeschools. And I'm not knocking that, by the way. If that's what works for you, I love that for you. I don't know why my mind automatically associates slow living with the country. Maybe I just have YouTube bias because it seems that every video about slow living is a young woman living in a tiny home, baking bread and shit. And while I love that reality for those women, it's just not a reality that's for me. And I know it's also not realistic for the average person, which ultimately just turns people off to the idea of slow living because our brains have information bias and create weird associations. We have an idea that slow living is unrealistic, and therefore we deem it unattainable and not for us. But slow living isn't raising your own chickens, knitting your own clothes, and baking pies all day, despite what the internet might be trying to convince us. Slow living is just about slowing down and finding slow moments, something that is very realistic and super attainable for the average person. And how do I know? I'm the average person. I'm Jackie, and if you're new here, welcome back to my channel. I'm not interested in living off the grid, and while I do love making healthy food from scratch, which, by the way, side note, please subscribe for my food content on Shorts, I adopted a bit of slow living because most of the lifestyle that I like is fast. I like starting businesses and making money and shopping, and I like flying in first class and staying in expensive luxury hotels. But when I was head first in that fast lifestyle, I traveled to 42 countries in 5 years. I lost myself. I had no choice but to slow down because I was burnt out and I didn't feel good inside. And I understand why slow living appeals to people because it's easy to get lost in fast living. It's easy to lose yourself in fast living. Everything I share on my channel is the lessons I've learned from inviting balance into my life and finding peace. And part of that for me was finding slow living. So don't forget to click subscribe because I want to help you find some balance too. And when I say find some balance, I don't mean I want you to start baking pies and raising chickens. It's one thing to tell you what I mean, but it's another thing to show you. So here's what a week of slow living looks like for me. It was raining so much this week that the weather was calling for a natural slowdown. I spent about an hour on Wednesday reading, sitting with a cup of tea in my favorite hanging chair. Reading fiction novels was one of my favorite pastimes as a child, and I like to tap into my inner child as part of my art of slowing down. It rained so much during the week that when the sun finally came out on Thursday, taking a few minutes to just look at how beautiful the blue sky was and how pretty the clouds were was my slow living moment. It didn't last more than a minute, maybe two, but I slowed down for those 2 minutes. Yin yoga is one of my favorite ways to slow down. It's an intentionally slow and meditative practice, and I always feel better after this practice. I love that on Fridays at my gym there is a 6 p.m. Friday yin yoga class because it's the perfect way to slow down. It's not just slowing down for the day. It's kind of like closing the whole week and like saying like, okay, we can put this week to the side and we can slow down and spend this hour in meditation with our bodies. And yin yoga in general is one of my favorite ways to slow down. I love yin yoga. I went for a slow walk around sunset, and while it's always great to get some extra steps in, I like to take my walks leisurely, slowly, seeing what I stumble upon. This time of the year is extra special. It's my favorite time of the year because all of the flowers on the trees are so naturally beautiful, so I had to slow down and stop on my walk to appreciate them. I also randomly saw an Ace of Clubs card on someone's lawn, which has like a spiritual and emotional meaning to me, and I can't tell you like what a sense of peace that gave me. It's like bringing me to tears just like thinking about it and reminiscing on it. And if I had been walking fast to get my steps in, to burn calories, or whatever the case was, I never would have seen that card. And on my way home, I found some more of those same pretty white flowers blooming on a tree, but this time the sun-setting sky was in the backdrop. So, of course, I had to slow down and just appreciate the view. And if you know me, you know I love a good sunset, and pausing to watch the sunset is my favorite act of slow living. I even took the screen out of my bedroom window so I could see the sunset better and that I could hang out my window to see the sunset better. And I honestly spent about 30 minutes slowly watching the sky change all different colors on Sunday. It was one of the first sunsets that we have had in a while where the sky changes all different colors, and it was just so beautiful. And I really just spent that time appreciating it slowly, not doing anything else, not thinking about anything else I had to do, just looking at how beautiful the sky was. Monday was the warmest day that we've had all year. And one of my favorite ways to live slowly is to not have a plan. So when I saw that the weather was going to be 80 degrees on Monday, I decided to make my plan to go to the beach with no other plan, no agenda, just go spend some time at the beach. And when I got to the beach, I paused to appreciate the way the sand had blown into just really beautiful lines along the seagrass. And after I sat down and watched the waves for a while, I looked down and I saw that there was a ladybug on my shoe. A proper slow moment. I had a super busy, fast day on Tuesday, so spending 30 minutes watching a sunset or spending the afternoon at the beach just was not in the cards for me. I spent my mindful morning in the sun with some morning beverages, and I've talked about how important mindful mornings are in the past, just for my mental health and in general. But Tuesday morning, I woke up even earlier to have some extra time in the morning with zero need to rush. And in that laid back energy, I was able to notice how pretty the morning dew was on the tips of the grass, and how beautifully the sunlight was reflecting through my hibiscus tea mug. These beautiful moments are around us all the time, but it's up to us to notice them, and unfortunately, that's just really hard to do when living a fast-paced lifestyle that seems we've all been thrown into. Carving out some time to invite intention into my day, finding some slow moments, has brought a lot of change and transformation and peace and ease into my life. And I hope I can inspire you to find some of that for yourself as well, because if nothing else, it feels good. And if the idea of intentional living or slow living or any of this is new to you, I want you to check out my free workshop on inviting intention into your life. The link is in the description of this video, and it can literally change your life. It's free and it's only 25 minutes. Like, honestly, what do you have to lose? Go download it. Thank you so much for coming back to my channel. As a reminder, my name is Jackie, and I make videos that aim to help people feel good mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, and aesthetically. I make new videos every week, so don't forget to click subscribe, and I will see you next week.